Quick thoughts. A hat in time.
Helping to fund a Kickstarter game can be both intriguing and risky. You can end up with underwhelming final products, or those that get continuously delayed to the point where it becomes clear they'll never see an actual release. One of my earliest pledges over 40 years ago for the indie 3D platformer A Hat in Time gave me the lighter impression the longer it took to come together. But considering that another indie game that I assumed would never materialize became maybe my favorite game of 2016, I hadn't quite written this game off as something that could still be a fun time should it ever release. I just stopped paying attention to its updates for the most part until release date was finally confirmed. And now that I've played through my copy of the PC version, not only am I very pleased, but I want to elaborate on why. Now, there are already plenty of reviews both written and on YouTube that go into what makes this game work in terms of pure mechanics. Good fundamentals, solid handling of its collectathon elements, smooth technical performance, and so on. And I can agree with those. What really surprised me with A Hat in Time and made it truly endearing to me is that it does something very few 3D platformers, even most of the best, attempt to go for. Rather than sticking to tried and true mechanics and rules, it emphasizes creativity, variety, and personality while still building them off the game's base structure. Collecting both primary and secondary items are still vital to progressing, but they feel less arbitrary and forced and more like passive rewards for exploration and progression, and even more customizable than a lot of games, as the beads scattered throughout each world don't just unlock certain levels, but different power-ups and passive abilities that you can purchase in the form of hats and badges. Many objectives mix gameplay up in a major way, such as investigating a murder mystery, running through a timed obstacle course a la Crash Bandicoot, or even pulling a survival horror with what's legitimately the creepiest section I've ever seen in a platformer. But what's important to note here is that, unlike older games that tried similar approaches, these chapters still stick to the same set of controls and abilities you always have, feeling more organic and seamless as a result. And then there's Hat Kid herself. Now, she technically expresses herself in the same way Mario does at a base level. She doesn't have full-on conversations at any point in the game via text or dialogue, and instead just expresses herself through facial emotions, a few physical actions, and an occasional word or sentence during gameplay. But dang are those few moments charming. There are a lot of other reviews out there stressing her and the game's overall cuteness, but I still wasn't prepared for some of her most lovable moments, like at the end of the first level when she first snags the umbrella that becomes her main melee weapon and suddenly yells her first spoken line, followed up when she defeats him with, "Thank you." That's not only when I knew that I loved Hat Kid, but that I was in for a clever, tongue-in-cheek experience. For example, the overarching plot of the Spooky Forest chapter starts with manipulative spirit trapping Hat Kid and stealing her soul, and then forcing the main level goals on her in the form of a contract. And may I just say that somebody on the art term clearly liked Okage on PS2. As you might expect, once you fulfill all these requests, he says you're of no use to him and just tries to kill you, in probably my favorite boss fight in the whole game. I mean, look at this, it's glorious. Once bested, he pushes another contract that stipulates you can have your soul back and just leave the forest and never bother him again. And what's Hat Kid's response after all his nastiness? To scratch out the rules and ask for him to have fun and be her BFF. Again, she doesn't even say any of this, but it's a moment that's genuinely good storytelling in terms of showing her innocent ideals, as well as from a purely visual and even kind of mechanical standpoint, as you've done routine contract signings with the same interface several times before. And this even extends to recurring, less specific elements, like how if you use the grapple ability, there's a good chance she'll let out a little, and she even gains the ability to prevent falling damage by unleashing her inner poppin', y'all! A lot of this also extends to the rest of the cast, which is almost entirely given full voice acting by a crew of talented indie actors and YouTubers gamers are bound to recognize at least one of. Even characters who make the briefest of appearances are given cute, well-acted performances to add to the sense of personality.
Cookin' Cat is here.
Now available at Gervin's off Route 109.
Now, it's so worth noting that I did certainly find some flaws. I experienced a brief video hiccup every time I got the game's equivalent of stars and jiggies, and replaying some levels on the first world caused the game to lock up on me on 3 different occasions. The stealth level that unlocks the Bird World's boss also outstays its welcome lengthwise, and the actual ending feels a little shrug-worthy, especially after how bombastic and great the last level and boss turn out. I mean, is this an anime? Okay, now it's an anime. The game also sounds like it will have a healthy life beyond its initial release. Both co-op and 2 bonus worlds are planned for the future since they were Kickstarter stretch goals, and I haven't even mentioned that if you go with the PC version, this is a game that has every intent of opening itself up for modders via Steam Workshop. An editor app currently in beta testing will allow players to modify existing gameplay elements and add all sorts of their own, be they power-ups, character recolors and skins, and even new levels and entire worlds. Since I just made a video on the fun possibilities Sonic Generations mods have provided, having a quality game that's actually designed with that aspect in mind is very tantalizing, and the developers have even encouraged this at launch by providing abilities based on Psychonauts and Freedom Planet. With A Hat in Time, developer Gears for Breakfast have created something that feels like a true labor of love and a smart idea for where 3D platforms can go should we see more of them in the future. I personally really enjoyed Yooka-Laylee, but the fact that I got more enjoyment out of this kind of title that was willing to mix things up more makes me think that if this genre is to see some sort of return, then we need to embrace new ideas in terms of presentation and mechanics, much like how the point-and-click adventure genre has moved towards embracing characters and story over logic puzzles. I definitely recommend you give this game a look if you currently have a PC that can run it, or pick up one of the upcoming console ports, bar any technical issues unique to those versions. A Hat in Time gets an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please leave comments, likes, feel free to subscribe for more, share it with friends, and give my podcast Sketch Watch Play a look, where we talk games, cartoons, and much more.